I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. It was almost 2 in the morning and I couldn't sleep. Not with Miles breathing so evenly beside me. Not with that strange, heavy feeling pressing down on my chest, like my body knew something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. I turned toward the nightstand to reach for my glass of water, and that was when his phone vibrated. The screen lit up the darkness like a tiny explosion. I would not have looked. I did not want to look. But my tired, aching eyes caught the words before I could stop myself, and once I saw them, there was no unseeing them. My silky tiger, you were incredible. I miss you already. Thank you for the 2 unforgettable nights. My hand froze in midair. My pulse roared so loudly in my ears that for a second I thought Miles might wake up from the sound of it. 2 nights? He was supposed to have been in Houston for a leadership summit. He was supposed to have been sitting through corporate presentations, shaking hands, sending me bored texts about hotel coffee and conference rooms. Instead, the image that punched through my mind was Miles in a hotel room with another woman, while I was at home making pot roast, folding laundry, and helping Mira finish her history project. My stomach turned. I got out of bed on shaking legs and stumbled into the bathroom. The cold tile under my bare feet was the only thing that felt real. I turned on the faucet, cupped icy water in my hands, and splashed it over my face, hoping I would wake up from whatever nightmare this was. But I did not wake up. In the foggy mirror, I saw someone I barely recognized. Pale skin, wild eyes, a mouth slightly open like it wanted to scream but had forgotten how. 20 years, I whispered to my reflection. 20 years of my life. I don't know how long I stood there. Eventually, I went back to bed. Miles had not moved. He was still curled up under the blanket, peaceful, steady, completely at ease, like nothing was wrong, like our whole life had not just split open beside him. Something inside me cracked that night. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to change everything. The next morning, sunlight poured through the kitchen window and made everything look too bright, too normal, too cruel. Miles rushed through breakfast the way he always did, sipping coffee, scrolling through his phone, moving around the kitchen like it was any ordinary morning. "You look pale," he said casually while buttering a piece of toast. "Didn't sleep well." "Yeah," I replied, placing his coffee cup in front of him. "I had a strange dream." He looked up. "Oh." In it, everything I believed in turned out to be a lie. He paused for just 1 second, not long enough for most people to notice. But I noticed. Then he smiled. "Dreams are weird like that," he said. "But we're real, Celeste. You and me. We're solid." I smiled back, even though the hollow place in my chest throbbed like an open wound. I watched him kiss my cheek, grab his briefcase, and leave the house with the same easy confidence he had always had. And I stood there, holding his empty plate, my fingers twitching with the urge to throw it against the wall. Instead, I set it in the sink. Then I picked up my phone and called the one person I thought I could trust. "Hey, Tamsin," I said, forcing my voice to sound normal. "Can you meet me for coffee? I really need to talk." She did not ask why. She just said she would meet me in 30 minutes at our usual place. The cafe smelled like cinnamon espresso and warmth. Tamsin was already sitting in our favorite corner booth when I arrived, her auburn hair perfectly curled, her makeup flawless, her latte cradled between both hands like she had all the time in the world. "You look awful," she said, half joking, half concerned. "What happened, Miles?" I blurted out louder than I meant to. "He's cheating." She blinked. Her fingers started drumming nervously against the side of her cup. "What makes you say that?" I did not answer. I just held up the photo I had taken of his phone screen. The message was still burned into my mind, but seeing it again made my stomach twist all over. Her eyes locked onto the words. For the smallest fraction of a second, something flickered across her face. Guilt, fear, shock. I could not name it then, but I felt it. He's someone's tiger now, I said bitterly, and I was the idiot who thought we were unshakable. Tamsin looked away. Maybe it's not what it seems, she said. Don't I cut in. Do not defend him. Do not try to make this softer than it is. She went silent. A cold thought slid into my mind, sharp and sudden. Why was she defending him? Why did she look so uncomfortable? Why did her voice sound too high, too quick, too careful? I'm leaving, I said, standing up. I'm taking the kids and going to my parents' place in Blue Ridge. Rowan comes home from college this weekend and Mira is still on her school trip. I'll pick them both up and that's it. I'm done. Tamsin only nodded, staring into her coffee like it held some answer I was not meant to hear. Are you sure? She asked, almost too quickly. That's a big decision. You think I should stay? I narrowed my eyes. Pretend this didn't happen, she hesitated. Just 1 second. That second was enough. Whose side are you on? I asked sharply. Mine or his? Yours, she said immediately. Too fast, too defensive. Of course yours. I just don't want you to do something you'll regret. No, I said. I regret staying this long. Then I left her sitting there, gripping her cup like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. She did not follow me. She never did. I almost forgot Mira's backpack. I had packed everything else. Clothes, toiletries, her favorite pajamas with the little stars on them. But the school had sent home a reading packet due Monday, and her books were still in the front closet. I cursed under my breath as I pulled up in front of the house, my heart pounding harder than it should have. The sun had already set. Shadows stretched across the lawn like long arms. The driveway was empty. Miles was not supposed to be home yet. I told myself I had 15 minutes, maybe 20. Just grab the backpack and go. I moved quickly through the house. The air felt wrong, like the walls were still mine, but the life inside them no longer belonged to me. I reached for the closet door. Then I froze. The sound of a key turning in the front lock sliced through the silence. My blood turned to ice. He was not supposed to be home, not yet. I panicked. The back door. I could slip through the kitchen, down the side yard, and get out before he saw me. I did not want a confrontation, not that night. Not while I was still shaking from what I had learned. Then I heard his voice. Don't be so nervous, Miles said with a low chuckle. She has no idea. And then a woman answered. I don't know. She seemed different this morning, like she knew something. I stopped breathing. That voice, that soft, high voice, the voice that used to whisper secrets with me in college dorm rooms. The voice that comforted me during hospital stays. The voice that had promised me forever friendship over cheap wine and bad movies. I would have known it anywhere. Tamsin. I backed into the kitchen wall and felt the world tilt sideways. My throat clenched so tightly I could not even gasp. My best friend, my maid of honor, my daughter's godmother. I stood there paralyzed. One hand gripping the edge of the countertop as their footsteps moved through the foyer. I heard them laugh. I heard Miles say something about finally being alone. I heard Tamsin sigh like it was a relief. They were heading upstairs, to our bedroom. Every creak of the staircase hit me like a slap. I used to love that sound. Miles used to carry me up those stairs when we were young and stupid and believed love could protect us from anything. I don't know what made me move, but suddenly I was climbing the stairs after them, one foot in front of the other, my knees shaking, my hand trailing along the banister like I might fall if I let go. The bedroom door was ajar. Light spilled through the crack, golden and warm. Voices. Laughter. I took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and flipped on the light. The room snapped into cruel, perfect clarity. Miles froze with his shirt half unbuttoned. his hair messy like he had just been running his hands through it. Tamsin stood beside the bed, pale-faced, hair tangled, eyes wide with horror. "It's not what it looks like," Miles said too fast, stepping away from her as if distance could undo betrayal. I tilted my head. "Really?" I asked calmly. "Because it looks a hell of a lot like my husband and my best friend were about to sleep together in my bed." Tamsin opened her mouth, then closed it. Her lips trembled. She looked like a ghost. Miles began. "Don't," I said. "Do not even try." He looked wounded, like I had stabbed him. The irony almost made me laugh. "You know," I added, my voice turning colder than I had ever heard it. "You two could have picked any bed in the city, a hotel, her place, a rental, but no, you chose ours. You really went for the symbolism, didn't you?" Inside, I was unraveling. My whole body felt like it was vibrating apart, but outside I was still, steady, almost detached, like I was standing outside my own life watching it collapse. Tamsin tried to speak again. "Celeste?" "No," I said sharply, turning to her. "You don't get to say my name. Not now." She flinched. "Do you remember how many times you told me I was lucky?" I asked. "How many times you said Miles was a dream husband? How many times you told me we were the perfect couple? Was that all part of the game?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. "Don't answer," I whispered. "I already know." Miles stepped toward me. I held up one hand. "Do not come any closer," I said. "I don't want your explanations. I don't care, because I have both your little texts in my phone now. My silky tiger, my tigress. How poetic." He went pale. I packed my things. I continued. "The kids are coming with me. You two can have each other. Enjoy your little jungle." Then I walked out. He called after me, but I did not stop. I carried my suitcase down the stairs, past the photos we had taken in Paris, past the coat rack Mira had decorated with stickers when she was little, past every detail of a life I suddenly did not recognize. Miles followed me to the door, pleading, "Please, Celeste, this isn't what you think." "No," I cut him off. "It is exactly what I think." He reached for my arm. "I love you, Celeste." I turned to him, cold as ice. "Too bad you forgot to tell your tigress." Then I opened the door and stepped out into the night. The highway blurred beneath my tires. I don't remember turning onto it. I don't remember checking the fuel gauge. I don't even remember breathing. My fingers gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The air inside the car felt suffocating thick with memories that had nowhere to go. I saw flashes of everything. My wedding day, Mira's first steps, the night Rowan got his college acceptance letter, Miles laughing in the kitchen, Tamsin holding my hand when my father had surgery. All of it came at me like scenes from someone else's life, someone who still believed in loyalty. Then a warning light blinked on the dashboard. Low fuel. Of course. I muttered a curse and took the next exit. The gas station looked like something out of a late-night movie, empty, too quiet, washed in harsh fluorescent lights that made everything feel sterile and unreal. I stepped into the cold night air and went through the motions of filling the tank, fumbling with my credit card, trying to keep the tears from falling. I barely noticed the man behind the counter at first. "Rough night?" he asked, his voice low and steady. I did not look up. "Why would you say that?" "Because most people don't cry while filling up their tank." I touched my cheek and realized he was right. My skin was wet. I had not even noticed. "Sorry," I mumbled. "No need," he said. "Everyone has a bad day. Want a coffee? On the house." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to run, to be alone, to keep driving until the road ended. But something in his voice made me pause. It was not pity. It was not curiosity. It was just calm. He handed me a paper cup and poured the coffee himself. "I'm Jude, by the way," he said. Owner, cashier, and midnight philosopher. I gave him the ghost of a smile. Celeste. We sat at a tiny table tucked into the corner of the store, surrounded by dusty maps, travel mugs, and racks of beef jerky. The heater hummed softly in the background. I wasn't planning to tell anyone this. I began staring down at the steam rising from the cup. Not for a while. But then again, I wasn't planning on finding out my husband was cheating with my best friend either. So, Jude did not flinch. He did not ask for details. He simply waited. So I told him everything. 20 years of marriage, the message on the phone, the strange look on Tamsin's face at the cafe, the voices in the hallway, the laughter as they climbed my stairs. I thought we were solid, I said, my voice cracking. He used to hold my hand in parking lots and tell me I made him feel grounded. And Tamsin was there for every big moment in my life. She was my maid of honor, my daughter's godmother. I trusted her with everything. Sometimes the people closest to us, Jude said quietly, carry the sharpest knives. I looked at him, startled. You don't seem surprised. I'm not, he said. I lost my wife 5 years ago. Car accident. After she died, some close friends disappeared. A few came back with truths I never wanted. I'm sorry, I whispered. He nodded, his eyes soft. It's part of why I keep this place. It's quiet, predictable. I talk to strangers, they leave, no attachments. So why talk to me? He shrugged. Maybe because you looked like someone who needed another person to sit with her while the world fell apart. The coffee in my hand had gone cold, but for the first time that night, my chest did not feel completely frozen. You have kids? He asked gently. 2, I said. Rowan is in college. Mira is 13. They're everything. He smiled. Then you've already got something worth starting over for. I looked at him then. Not just glanced at him, but really saw him. The graying beard, the tired eyes that still managed to be kind. There was no spark, no dramatic swell of music in my head, no sudden romance waiting to rescue me from pain. There was only something quieter, something safer. Thank you, I said, for the coffee. And the humanity. He raised his cup. To surviving betrayal, he said, and bad gas station lighting. I laughed. The sound felt strange, like it did not belong to me yet. But I held on to it anyway. We exchanged numbers before I left, not as a promise, not as a beginning, just as a possibility. In case you need more caffeine and less judgment, he said with a wink. I drove the rest of the way to Blue Ridge with the heater on and the windows cracked just slightly. The trees blurred by like shadows. Somewhere in the mountains, my parents' house was waiting. And for that night, that was enough. My parents' house in Blue Ridge had not changed. The porch still creaked in the same spots. The air still smelled like pine old wood in the past. But everything inside me felt unrecognizable. Mom met me at the door, still wearing her nightgown, her hair pinned back tight like always. Her eyes scanned the suitcase in my hand, the rigid line of my mouth, and she did not ask questions. She did not have to. You can sleep in the old guest room, she said. I'll make up the bed. I nodded. Mira was already curled up under her childhood blanket by the time I went upstairs. Rowan, bless him, had driven in from campus hours early. He met me at the door with a worried look and a silent hug that almost broke me. I did not say much that night. The next morning, Mom made blueberry pancakes like we were all trying to pretend life was still sweet. Then, while Mira and Rowan were outside with Grandpa, she dropped the bomb. I invited Miles, she said, not looking at me. I put down my fork. You did what? He's your husband, she said. You two need to talk. No, Mom, we don't. Not now, not here. She folded her napkins slowly, deliberately. Celeste, all men stray now and then. It doesn't mean you burn the whole house down. I stared at her. You think this is about one mistake? He has been sleeping with my best friend. Her expression barely changed. It is still your marriage, and that is supposed to mean what I asked. That I stay and swallow the betrayal? That you fight for it. I pushed my chair back and stood. I have been fighting for this marriage for 20 years, I said. I am not going another round. She did not argue. She only sighed like I had disappointed her in some quiet, permanent way. Later that afternoon, I sat with Mira in the garden while she drew tulips and pretended she was not listening to the adults inside. Is Daddy still coming back? She asked, her voice small. I swallowed hard. No, sweetheart, not in the way you're used to. She nodded once and kept drawing. That night, I filled out the divorce papers. The court date came sooner than I expected. Savannah was gray and cold the morning I arrived at the courthouse. I wore a navy blue suit I had not touched in years. The heels pinched. My heart hurt worse. Miles was already there. He looked tired, hollowed out, not a trace of his usual polish left. We sat across from each other without speaking, while the lawyers worked through the logistics, as if we were dividing office supplies instead of a life. Then came the moment. The division of assets, the judge said. Let's review the proposed terms. I'd like to make a statement, Miles interrupted. My attorney glanced at me, surprised. Miles stood, hands at his sides. I waive my right to any shared property, he said. Everything goes to Celeste and the kids. The house, the car, the accounts, all of it. Gasps moved through the room. Whispers followed. Even the judge looked stunned. You understand what you're saying, Mr. Harrington? She asked. I do. I stared at him, not with gratitude, but with confusion. What was this? Guilt? A performance? A power play? A farewell? Then I saw her. Tamsin had slipped into the back of the courtroom. She sat alone, her coat pulled tightly around her. She looked like a ghost, thin, pale, her eyes hollowed out by something deeper than sleepless nights. I turned back to Miles. His expression had not changed, but something in his posture had. He did not look at her, not once. Something had shifted between them. Maybe the final blow had landed. Maybe the truth had finally settled in. Either way, I was too tired to care. When it was over, I walked past him without speaking. I did not owe him anything anymore. Not words, not tears, not comfort, not permission to feel forgiven. Outside the courthouse, the cold bit into my skin, the kind of cold that wakes you up, the kind that says, it's over, move. I did not cry. I did not look back. I just kept walking. The townhouse smelled like new paint and old memories. Most of the boxes were still sealed. The walls were bare. The rooms echoed. But for the first time in months, the air felt like it belonged to me. Rowan carried in a box labeled kitchen and dropped it with a grunt. Where do you want this? Anywhere but the stairs, I said with a tired smile. Mira skipped in behind him, holding up a painting. Look, Mom, for the living room. It's abstract. It was a swirl of bold color, red and gold, bleeding into deep blue. Chaotic but hopeful. I nodded. Perfect. That night, after the kids went to bed, I started unpacking one of the last boxes from the old house. Photos, cards, college trinkets. A box I had not opened in years. At the very bottom, beneath yellowing receipts and half-used notebooks, was a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon that had faded to gray. The handwriting was Tamsin's. My hands went cold. Each letter was addressed to Miles and postmarked a year before I met him. I opened the first one. I miss you. Why won't you write back? I wait every day for the mail, hoping to see your name. My stomach twisted. These were not friendly notes. They were love letters. Aching, young, foolish love letters. I opened another. You promised you'd wait for me. I don't understand what changed. Please, if you've moved on, just say so. Another. I guess I have my answer now. You're gone, but I won't forget. The last envelope held a photo. Tamsin and Miles, barely older than teenagers, leaning against a fence, smiling like they were in love. Because they were. I sat back on the floor. My breath came in shallow bursts. They had known each other long before I came into the picture, and no one had ever said a word. I could not sleep that night. The next morning, I drove to the one person who might be able to fill in the blanks. Miles's mother. She met me on the porch with the same guarded expression she had always worn. "Celeste," she said, surprised. "Come in." Her house smelled like lemon polish and memories. Nothing had changed. Not the teacups, not the floral wallpaper, not the silence that always seemed to sit between us. "Did you know about them?" I asked bluntly, skipping every pleasantry. She blinked. "About who?" "Tamsin and Miles. From before college." Her mouth tightened. "That was a long time ago. But it happened." She sighed. "They were neighbors. Close. He wrote her letters for months after we moved away. Never got a single reply." "That's not true," I said. "I found her letters. She sent dozens." "He never answered because he never got hers either." His mother frowned. "He wrote every week. We checked the mailbox together." Something clicked in my mind. "Did anyone else live with you then?" I asked. "My mother," she said slowly. "Why?" I pulled out the final letter, the one that explained everything. It was not from Tamsin. It was from Miles's grandmother to Tamsin's mother. I intercepted all his letters. She doesn't need distractions. Let her think he moved on. She deserves someone better. I watched Miles's mother read it. Her hands began to tremble. "Oh my God," she whispered. "They never knew," I said. "No," she said faintly. "They didn't." When I got home, I sat in the backyard with my phone in my hand, staring at the name I never thought I would call again. Miles answered on the second ring. "Celeste, I found the letters," I said, "and the truth." Silence. "I think you and Tamsin spent 20 years believing you were abandoned," I continued. "But someone made sure you never had a chance." He exhaled slowly. "So it was real." "Yes," I said. He did not ask what I wanted. He did not apologize. He did not try to turn it into something about us. He only said, "Thank you for telling me." Then he hung up. I sat there staring at the trees, the sky, the past. Was I the rebound? The replacement? Maybe in the beginning. Maybe there had been a place inside him that was never fully mine. But somewhere along the way, Miles and I had become something else. Something real, at least for a time. Still, real does not always mean forever. Tamsin showed up at my door with no makeup, no earrings, and no mask. She looked older than I remembered. Not in the way time ages a face, but in the way regret does. She stood on my porch like a stranger afraid to knock. I opened the door before she found the courage. "I need to talk," she said. "I don't." "Please, Celeste." Something in her voice stopped me. It was not guilt. It was not even desperation. It was exhaustion, the kind that settles deep in your bones when you finally run out of ways to pretend. I stepped aside. We sat across from each other in my small kitchen, the table between us like a battlefield. I offered no coffee, no comfort, no polite smile. Just silence. "I loved him," she said softly. "I know. I loved him before you even met him. He was my first everything. Then he moved away, and I never heard from him again. Because your grandmother intercepted his letters." Her eyes widened. You know I found them. All of them. She looked like someone had just told her her whole life had been built on a lie. I thought he had forgotten me, she whispered. I thought he had replaced me. So when I met you in college and you were with him, I told myself I was over it. I told myself it didn't matter. But it did. She nodded. At first I became your friend just to stay close to him, she confessed. But then I actually started to love you as a friend, as family. That part was not fake. You still slept with him. It wasn't planned, she said quickly. It happened 3 months ago at his company's holiday party. We both drank too much. One minute we were laughing and the next... Don't, I cut in. Do not give me the blurry details. Tamsin flinched. I'm not here to justify it, she said. I just needed you to know it did not go on for years. It was not some affair behind your back that whole time. You think that makes it better?
No, her voice cracked. No, I think it makes it worse. Because it means we both knew better and still did it anyway.
I stood with my arms crossed, watching the woman who had once known every corner of my life. Tell me something, I said. Did you think he was going to leave me? Did he promise that? She hesitated. That was enough. Did he tell you he loved you? I pushed. Yes, she whispered. After you left, he came to me and said he didn't know what he wanted. And you believed that was love. She did not answer. Of course you did, I said. You spent 20 years clinging to the ghost of a boy who never got to grow up. That's not fair. Isn't it? I snapped. You think I don't know what that feels like? To hold on to someone who stopped choosing you the minute you were not convenient anymore? She looked away, biting her lip to keep from crying. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I always imagined, she said quietly, that if Miles and I ever had a chance to be together, it would feel like home. But it didn't. It felt wrong. Like we were pretending we had not become different people. You have, I said. He did, and so did you. She nodded. I'm moving to Seattle. I got a job offer. I need to go somewhere everything doesn't remind me of what I ruined. I did not ask for a goodbye hug. I did not cry. When she left, I felt like a door had finally closed, one I had needed shut for far too long. That night, my mother came over. She stood in my kitchen, studying me like I was a puzzle she had never solved. You're really going through with it? She said. I already did. She exhaled. I always told you to keep the family together, she said. I told you forgiveness was the key. I know, but I was wrong, she said, her voice low. I thought staying made me strong, but I see now it just made me disappear. I stared at her. I want you to know, she continued, that whatever happens next, I'm proud of you. You didn't let anyone else decide your worth. I did not have words. I just nodded. After she left, I texted Jude. Dinner this weekend, just you and me, no ghosts. His reply came fast. Saturday, I'll bring the wine, you bring the stories. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I looked forward to something. Spring came quietly that year, not with some loud explosion of wildflowers or the sudden buzz of bees, but in softer ways. Light lingering a little longer in the evenings, warm air slipping through open windows, mornings that felt less like punishment and more like possibility. I had been in my new place in Greenville for 6 months. The townhouse was not large, but it was mine. The floors creaked in odd places. The walls still smelled faintly of fresh paint, and there were mornings when I would wake up and forget for one blissful second that my old life had fallen apart to make room for this one. That Saturday, Jude showed up with a bottle of red wine and a bag of groceries. He did not ask if he could cook. He just moved into my kitchen like he belonged there. Not in an entitled way, but in the easy way of someone who did not need to take over to be present. "Is this garlic or a small meteor?" he asked, holding up a huge bulb with mock suspicion. I laughed. "Both. Depends how much you use." Dinner was simple: pasta, bread, a shared bottle of wine, conversation that drifted in and out of old scars and new beginnings. Afterward, we sat on the small back porch and watched the sky fade into stars. "You ever think about what you would say?" Jude asked, "if you could go back and talk to yourself a year ago?" I thought for a moment. "I'd tell her the house would be emptier, but her heart wouldn't be," I said. "And I'd tell her it's okay to mourn something, even if you're the one who walked away from it." He nodded. "I'd tell myself grief isn't a dead end. It's just a bend in the road." We did not kiss that night. We did not need to. There was something sacred in not rushing, in building something slowly, brick by careful brick. Love, I was learning, did not always arrive wrapped in fireworks. Sometimes it came in the form of someone who knew how to sit in silence with you and not fill it. A few weeks later, Mira painted a mural on the wall in her room. Blues, golds, and soft whites stretched across the plaster in waves. She called it Mom's Fresh Start. I did not stop her. I let her make her mark on this new chapter too. Rowan came home for the summer and surprised me by bringing someone with him, a girl named Kat. She was quiet and kind, and she looked at him with the kind of gaze that did not take anything for granted. I liked her immediately. Even my parents changed. My mother, who once believed her role was to hold the family together by enduring silently, joined a volunteer group that traveled to local shelters. My father drove her twice a week and started writing poetry. It was terrible poetry, but it was new. Then, one day out of nowhere, Miles called. "I'm not calling to fix anything," he said quickly. "I just wanted you to know I'm sorry for all of it. Not just for what I did, but for how long I let you be alone in that marriage." I did not say much, but I listened. And when I hung up, I felt no anger, just a faint ache, like touching a scar that had finally stopped bleeding. Later that week, I found myself back at the same gas station where I first met Jude. The sky was overcast, the pumps were still finicky, and the little cafe table inside was now surrounded by potted plants and travel mugs for sale. He looked up from behind the counter, and his eyes lit up. "You again," he said. "You never did finish telling me the rest of your story." I smiled. "That's because I'm still writing it." We sat down side by side this time. No past to outrun, no future to chase. Just two people exactly where they were, exactly as they were. And for the first time, I was not holding my breath waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was not waiting to be replaced, betrayed, or left behind. I was just here, alive, forged by fire, and finally free.